Welcome to Positive Moments with Andrew and Don.
Let everything go.
That was such a life-changing experience.
It's a way of life, it's a way of being, it's a way of thinking, it is mind management.
It inspires me to know that there's more to learn every single day.
Welcome to Positive Moments again with Andrew and Don, episode number 6. Today we're going to dive into creating champion mindsets. And I have a special human being who not only plays a special role in my life, but I've been able to connect with him on how to go inside the human being to have all the things that we desire on the outside of the human being. To create a champion mindset, as we use the word mind, you must have a strong mind, you must have a strong mindset. We can't build these alone. These take coaching, these take experience, these take a lot of work. But the beautiful thing is it is possible for not only me, not only for Don, not only for our amazing guest here today, but for everyone. We all have the right and opportunity to create a champion mindset. And we have Mr. Darren Fafa, who's going to tell us all about what a champion mindset is and how to create one. Darren, thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here. Real delight.
So tell us, what is a champion mindset to you?
You know what? I want to start by saying, first of all, that the word mindset, to me, it is a bit of an oxymoron. Because the set part of the mindset seems to me a little counter to the idea of growth and expansion, limitlessness, which is the mind. I know there's the work by Carol Dweck, which I really respect, which is a growth mindset. And I think a champion's mindset is this growth mindset. But to me, being a champion is more about the being. It's beyond the mind. It's a state of being. And that includes the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the, so it incorporates the mind, but it's not limited to a mindset.
And when we think, I love that, because if we set something, it's like as if it's full stop.
Full stop.
But we are trying to continue fluidity and flow of growth and creation. What do you think about that, Don?
Yeah, it's interesting because the mindset, even though we say set, mindsets can be changed. Now, they're not easily changed. They're not changed, just in a snap of a finger at times. But certainly, one experience can change your mindset. For example, the only thing that ever changed the world negatively or positively was an idea. So therefore, an idea, the mind once stretched by an original idea never regained its original shape. So somebody's mindset can be positively impacted even by meeting someone, even by watching something on television, even by just getting a thought, an inspired thought. Your mind would never be the same again. So mindsets are very, very fluid, and we have to be very careful with our mindsets because they can either make or break us. They can either keep us back or they can either propel us forward.
Very much agree. The way I experience it is that the way we experience ourselves, our way of being, if you want to call it our mindset, the way we see the world is affected by the way we are, by the way we be. So when we then see the world in a certain way, that guides our actions, our speech, So to your point, it's like if we have a particular mindset that is, let's just say, negative mindset or a pessimistic way of outlook, in the world, we will experience things in the world as negative and we will have that experience. And that will then guide our actions. So, the way of being affects your way of seeing, and the way of seeing then affects how you interact and act in the world.
And when growing up, I always tried to train my mindset from the outside. I've always tried to use what I could see, what I could feel. You do something and that is reaction to whether you enjoyed it or not. And as I've grown up, I've been really trying to understand what they talk about, sports psychology and training your mind first and being able to literally have an entire race in your mind and literally all the muscles in your body will fire very similar. It took me a long time to get into not only believing it, but living it. And I don't know if it's because the way I was brought up or just the way I live, but I really do believe that it's the opposite how I was brought up to have the best effect. I believe both of them will have an effect. But to have the most powerful effect, it starts inside. And a lot of people still that I have encountered struggle with that. How can you help people understand that you have to go inside first, or it's easier, or it's faster to create from the inside than to try from the outside?
Yeah, it's a great point, Andrew. I think we're not taught this really in schools, or maybe fortunately you can come across this, or some wise mentor kind of points you in this direction. But if you think about it, everything we learn, everything we experience is an internal experience, right? So we go through some experience, but internally we're interpreting, we're making meaning of it, and we're learning from it. The imagination is so powerful that it can actually create the experience of something without it actually happening in the world. And that experience of it internally is no different to it actually happening in the world. In terms of your neurochemistry, what happens in your brain, the firing of the neurons and so forth. So the experience that your brain and your subconscious is experiencing from an imaginative experience is not really any different to the actual real life experience of it. And that's why it's so powerful. Don, you have something there.
I know you. I guess you could pick up that already, because I'm thinking of this biblical phrase that says, scripture that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And I mean, to your point as well, sometimes you can actually, like fear, for example, if you feed fear, the thing that you're fearful about can actually manifest in front of you. So it's very, very important that we have a healthy mindset. And I mean, the world too shows us things, and we can learn. We don't have to make, I always tell people, we don't have to make the same mistake that other people make. For example, I'll take the word mistake, and that's a staple of the program by now. What Don is going to do with a word. But the word mistake, if you take the M out, there is something you can take from every mistake. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson. The M is in front, so you have the E at the end, because mistakes happen to me and to you and to every one of us. So what lessons are we getting out of it? And the lessons we're getting out of it is how quickly we want to get out of a wrong mindset. Of maybe thinking a particular way and not willing to change course, But we're all learning and we're all growing. As I said, all of us make mistakes, but it's not what happens to us, but what we choose to do about it. So when we recognize it's a mistake, we want to try as best as we can to make the corrections and to come out of that mindset.
Absolutely.
Darren, they have many phrases that kind of go in the industry of what you do. Action coaches, life coaches, many different terms end up with the coach that help human beings. And you've decided to look at yourself as a champion creating coach. How do you create champions?
Let's start with the words, because in respect to Don, who is like the master creator with words, right? Words carry meaning. And sometimes we are not even aware of the layers of meaning in words. And I have been drawn to this idea of creating. Creating to me is deeply personal but universal experience. We are all creators. We are all powerful creators. Now, I don't want to offend anybody who, is like the almighty creator has created us in his image, right? And therefore, he has given us that power of choice, and in that choice is the power to create, But like I said earlier, we have humans have this ability to create their experience,
Great, yeah.
Yeah. And so creating has been a fascinating subject and a fascinating way and access point to increasing our capacity to create more of what we want and to create more for the people we love. So that's, and to me, there's a responsibility that comes with that as well. So it carries for me a lot of, I call it responsibility, right? So we have the ability to respond and to create based on what I call a love basis, like a state of being that's loving, peaceful, that then multiplies that in the world, so that we are actually creating more peace, love, and well, prosperity too, you know, for us, for people we serve, you know. So that's the creating part, and the champions part has been an evolution, and it's actually like something that has occurred through working with you, Andrew. To me, you embody a champion, and I've been thinking and I've been incorporating some of the things, the insights that we've been looking at into my understanding of what a champion is. So for me, there's a couple of levels to it. There's the best. There's the number one, right? So this is the more usual understanding, the, you know, kind of accepted standing. Not to say that it's good or bad. This is an understanding, right? A champion is the best at what they do. They are number one, right? They've won the race. They're the champion. But then there's a layer as well about being a champion is a loving defender, right? A champion, so for instance, back in the day when there was kings, you know, ruling Europe and so forth, on the day of coronation, they would hold court, and they will have a gathering of all the nobles as well as all the you know, folk from around the area, and they would have an announcement, a pronouncement, right? Here is the king. We are about to anoint the king with, you know, and put the crown on his head, right? But if anyone is willing to fight, right, against this coronation, step forward now and fight our champion, right? So there will be someone who is a champion in the court who is defending the honor and the nobility of the king, okay? So this is how I relate to being a champion, because I can be a champion for someone. I can be a loving defender for the nobility that resides in that person, which is the best, their best version, right? Their most true expression of who they are, their nobility, their sovereignty. So as a coach, I think of myself as a champion coach in that I am a loving defender for the people I serve. And for my kids, my wife, you know, it's loving service. I'm willing to lay down my life in defense and for a cause. And to me, that is a champion. So we started to work together, and I started to recognize the champion within you. Not only from your achievements in racing and sailing and, you know, tremendous, you know, ability to win, but you're championing a cause. You know, you have your foundation and your public speaking and, you know, what you're doing here. You are a true champion for people to, you know, to really express your love for them through the service that you give. And to me, that's a true champion.
Wow. You know, it's interesting because a lot of youngsters hear the word champion, and some of them think they're not a champion. And let me just say that for anybody that's looking on, there's a champion side of you, and you are a champion, because you can't have the champion without the word I. And that I-O-N is I on. I'm on to something, but I have to be on to what my purpose is, and you get to be the champion of that purpose. And also in champion, something I've always looked at is that AMP. That AMP, the day has two times, the AM and the PM, but the AM is first. So very early, you have to know that there's something inside of you that is able to come out, and the world is going to recognize and to celebrate. But please don't think that you're not a champion. You are a champion. It's not about being a sailor or a champion coach. We all have that champion inside of us. And Darren, I'd like to ask you a question, because when you talk about champion, it's related to some sort of success. And what would you define as, you know, as success? What makes that person, because you got up this morning, you could move your limbs, you could speak, you got something to eat, maybe not, you know, the king or the queen's breakfast, but guess what? You're still able to be here, and as long as you're here, there's hope, and there's still a purpose for you to be fulfilled. And that to me is, I know the beginning of understanding that you can have a champion mindset. What is success to you, Darren?
Wow, that's a deep question. I love that. I love that. And I think I'll tie it to what you asked, is how do you create champions, you know? So to me, creating and fostering and nurturing and cultivating the champion within. Like you said, the champion is there, right? It's our best version. It's our true purpose, our true desire, wanting expression in the world. To create a champion, get everything that is out, it is in the way of that expression out. So anything that is holding back, suppressing, hiding, or causing you to fear the manifestation of that champion being, that's where you work. Because cultivating the champion is less about actually doing like champion work and more about getting the things out of the way that are preventing the expression of that champion.
Well, because someone could champion a cause too. I mean, the same way you fearlessly defend someone, but you could fearlessly defend a core, a cause as well too. And as you're talking there about some of the things that can hold us back, particularly as it relates to mindset, I think one of the things is, for example, doubt. There are many people who very quickly have a doubt. And I always look at doubt in this manner, because doubt is a combination of do and but. Yes. Do and but. So if you have things to do, but you keep going but, I mean, there's so many people that procrastinate. So if you keep going do and but together, do and but together will bring doubt. Interestingly, the word doubt has an answer in it, because you have the D and then you have out, but what interrupts the out is the B. So getting out of it, the doubt, is knowing who it is you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So it's very important that
That's
we,
a big one.
very important that we know who it is that we're meant to be, and that we don't have to necessarily have an Olympic gold medal on our chest for us to be a champion. But the fact that we even championing a cause, the fact that we're helping some other people, some other person, I mean, that to me is important in being a champion.
Awesome, I love that. And I think that basically points me to my answer for your question about what is success. And it goes back to an early conversation we had, Andrew, about what it is you wanted to achieve and in being a champion, and that is to be the best in all aspects of my life that I can be, right? That was Andrew's kind of definition of success. It wasn't so much, well, I had to win this in order to field a champion. I wanted to be a champion in my relationship. I wanted to be a champion in my sailing, in my training, in my eating. So you were very specific, and I think that this points us to the answer, is that whatever you define your best as, right, or let's just say what your truth is, right, your inner truth, then achieving that is success.
So that I love that the way of looking at success is looking at its life in its entirety and succeeding at life, not just at your job or your relationships, but everything in its entirety. Because if something is not doing well, it's gonna pull others down, and if something is doing really well, it should have the ability to pull other things up. So really want to have as much things pulling up, in my opinion. That's a real positive way of living, an upward spiral, as I call it. But we touched on something earlier about, letting go and stop the suppressing and freeing up to be the best version of yourself. And I've crossed many human beings who I've interacted with and open up their mindsets a little bit. And they would say things like, Andrew, the things I just told you, I would have never told anyone. And to me, it's just like, I'm a pretty open guy. I like the concept of being open. I think it creates so much more growth. So that's, to me, I'm glad I built that somehow in my life through all the different ways of seeing how it could help. But all people who are very closed and don't have, whether you want to call it coaches or mentors, I want you to, help the audience understand the power. I'm not necessarily only a champion coach, but of opening yourself, letting go, stopping the suppressing, being true to yourself. This is the work you do. You want the audience to feel how important this work is to the planet and its future.
Whoa, wow, yeah.
And to encourage people to realize that you can't do this alone. I can't, you can't, Don can't, we can't. We we have a film crew here who's allowing us to have this production. And Don couldn't set up this alone, and we need each other. And the more we learn to work with each other, is the more we can be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I really resonated with your philosophy on the team. You know, it takes a team. And I've heard you guys speak about that in past shows as well. And it definitely resonates. And I think for me, it is important and quite vital to have people who you can open up to. And that doesn't have to be a coach. It could be a friend, but you know, friends are, you know, tricky ones because you know, there's a difference between having a friend and a mentor and a coach, in my opinion. But really and truly, it's about releasing stuck energy, okay, or also seeing in a new way, which is difficult because literally some things that about ourselves that we are carrying into the world are hidden from us, but can be seen by someone else and experienced by someone else. And those things, those ways of being that are hidden to us are creating our experience and our results in the world, right? So when one of the most powerful lessons I ever learned was that that I was playing victim a lot of the time. And I was externalizing and projecting blame on circumstance and people for things that I was experiencing. And it took my coach to slap me a few times with that and to show me, hey, you wake up to this. You are actually disempowering yourself because you're giving your power to this external source.
Wow. You know, so many things going through my head at this time. But interestingly, I just want to come back, that word blame. You know, blame always ends up by me. Right? So I say don't be lame and blame anybody. Right. You know? And Dan, it's quite interesting, this discussion, because Andrew and I have an experience, and what sort of deepened our friendship is when he was laid up in the hospital, you know, and I'd visited him. I'd actually called him before, you know, and said, Andrew, I'm going to visit you later in the hospital. He was down at West Shore at the time. And I remember sharing with him the idea that, Andrew, you may feel that you're nowhere, but really and truly, that word nowhere can become now here. And that now here, the only way nowhere becomes now here, it has to have a pause in between. So, okay, now here, how can I get out of this? What is the help that I need? Who's going to be there to support me? And I think that made, Andrew will probably testify to that as well, but it made a world of a difference in his life. And I just want to come back to one thing that you said, you know, we're talking about being the best version of ourselves. I visit schools. I've been blessed to courtesy Republic Bank as well, to visit a lot of schools. And I always talk about, I'm not asking you to be first in tests. No. I'm asking you to do your best, and your best may very well be first in tests. Because we have this thing outside there, if we're not, inverted commas at times, the champion, then we are nobody. Let me tell you, everybody is somebody. Everybody has something purposeful that they're here to do. You may not be a sailor, you may not be a production manager, you may not be a whoever. But guess what? There's somebody that you could be, and nobody can do that like you. Anytime you're trying to be anybody else, all you'll be is an imitation or a fake. You be the best version of you that you were meant to be. And you know, you are being the best version of you, and Andrew's being the best version of himself, and still realizing that's not it, because none of us have arrived. None of us have arrived. Each of us want to be better, and I think one of the ways to help us be better is helping people to look at life better. For example, creating a platform or having a platform, as you talk about create, where there could be positive moments, which will make for more positive moments later on. And this is positive moments. If you're not enjoying it, you should be by now.
I agree, and I like that a lot, you know. And today, you know, Darren, you're going to take us to one of your positive places. And you touched on your coach. So while you are a coach, you have had coaching to go through this experience, understand how you were worked with, how to work with others. You know, if someone ever wanted to become a coach, what was something you would really, and this could really be coaching in any aspect. You could take this where you want, but what would you really, if someone ever decided, I actually want to go and coach, what would you say to them?
Do it. I would say do it. I would say that we need positive influences in the world. We need people who are champions for others, and so whether it be coaching, mentoring, teaching, facilitation. I'll say my 12-step facilitator is probably there were two of them, most pivotal people in my life, because where I was at that moment, without them, I wouldn't be here today. And so they donated their time and they put on this 12-step program for family dysfunction, not so much for alcoholism, but it is all about addiction and like basically unconscious behavior leads you down a road of falling asleep to yourself and your potential and your power. So anything that you are habitually doing that is not a conscious choice is actually pulling you and is in the way of your expression as a human being. So the way I see it is that we have almost a default future if we continue along the path that we're walking, right? And it is people, mentors, teachers, coaches who come into our life who actually can help us to see ourselves in a real and different way, right? Experience the champion within and actually take a step level change, right? Some people might call that an exponential shift or growth, right? Explosive growth, whatever you want to call it. I call it a step level change. So instead of that default, incremental growth or default future, you actually can take a step change and create a desired future, which is more aligned with your true potential.
If I'm hearing you correctly, it's very important that the people around you speak very positively with you and that they encourage you in a particular way to almost believe that you can achieve instead of saying, too much in society we have people telling them you cannot be this and you cannot be this and you're just like your father and you're just like all these things can tend to keep in terms of a mindset. You could tend to believe them and they can actually keep you down. So there are some positive things that you can say. Two of them that I milk all the time is that I believe in you and you are priceless. I try to find every day or every other day, as much as I can, somebody to say that too. I believe in you and you are priceless. And that thought, that little seed actually is able to go in amidst all the dirt and everything, amidst all the negative things that have been said. But that seed actually, I call it the law of the seeds. When you put a seed in the ground, there's no direction to put the seed, right? But guess what? It will always grow up and look for the sun. You could take that whichever way you want. It will always be inspired by something that is larger than itself. It'll always go in search of that thing.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. I never thought of it like that, but it's so true, And the seed actually, has no eyes. So it just goes to show we as human beings, it's inside. It's not actually what we see. It's already, the decision for the direction is inside of us. So we got to be really aware of what we're creating inside.
Well, Andrew, let me add very quickly, true vision has nothing to do with eyesight. Now, if I ask you if you see my point, you can't point at anything to relate to that point, but you're able to see that point inside, Yeah, but you could feel it. And what we have to know, once we get up every day, I think we have to start there. We get up every day, we may pray, some may or may not. But the fact that you can get up and that you can do something and be a better version of yourself. I wouldn't say the best version because we always go in search of that best version. But the fact that you could be a better version of yourself, I think is something to be excited about. I think it's something that and better yet, if you get to inspire somebody. Part of these programs, we had a young man, I'll call his name, I'm not sure if it's shown already or if it'll be shown maybe right after this. But you have a young man by the name of Simeon Duncan, who Andrew and I had the pleasure of chatting with, who didn't see himself from Sawa, but traveling to Destiny to be part of Andrew's camp. And now he has a different version of himself and wanting to become, and he could actually see himself as an Olympic sailor, doctor too, right? But an Olympic sailor at some point in time. And that's the power of positivity. That's the power of having a champion mindset that we're discussing.
Yeah.
I want to actually ask Don to add something in here, and Darren, if you could follow on the same question after, because this is a very, very important part to me that, we as human beings all have the opportunity to save lives. Whether it is a little child running in front of a car, you grab their hand, or it is loving somebody in a certain way, or really and truly stepping into someone's lives and being a champion for them. And very often, more than I know anybody, Dawn is sitting and spending time with people, counseling them and in theory, people possibly want to take their lives, and he spends time with them, championing himself and sending that message across to them that you are valuable, you are priceless, you can do this, you could overcome this, and take them through a journey. And Don, I want you to touch a little bit on, how do you get the strength to not necessarily hold someone's hand, but hold their hand through this experience of someone wanting to leave this planet by taking their own life in a very negative situation, shift it around into a positive place. And that's what you do, and also you through your experiences, Darren, you would have to really help people change their lives in a lot of massive ways. And this is really, really challenging.
Andrew, you're talking there, my eyes are watering, because I have had to chat with persons who have tried to take their lives, and I've had to on a couple occasions. And I like to try to find out, how did the person get there? What was the mindset that led that person to feel that there was no other choice? And somebody listening, I'm going to look to the camera and I'm going to say it directly. Somebody listening, that word suicide, I know at times is a taboo topic for some people. And suicide, S-U-I-C-I-D-E. What I want to do is I want you to know that inside of the word suicide, there is U-C-I. You and I need to see that there's always somebody at our side. So even somebody listening to us, there's somebody who is there for you. And you need to find the help. You need to get somebody, if it's a youngster we're speaking with, you need to find a trusted adult. We have to be factual. Not all adults can be trusted. But you have to find a trusted adult. Somebody respected in the community. Maybe it might be somebody in your school, a teacher who you admire, and talk it out. And just as we're talking this topic out here, for me, you ask me, how, Andrew? And how, for me, H-O-W, for me, comes back to who, how and who. So how I get anything done is who I depend on. I depend on God, and Christ as well, to be inspired, to help people to become all that they can be. And for example, I use being, you talk about this state of being, and that's what we can be in God, when we recognize that we have a purpose. We have a purpose on the earth like everybody else. Andrew's experience growing up would have been different. My experience growing up would have been different. But guess what? Along the life's journey, we were able to cross paths. We met at a school, and that wasn't a chance meeting, and then from there we made a choice. We made a choice to say, hey, let's try to see how we can partner, get a sponsor like Republic Bank and so, who graciously said yes, to say, how can we make it a positive moment for somebody? And we need to realize that all of us here have a circle of influence. All of us here, you may not be in front of audiences, many people, but you have an audience maybe of one. Maybe it might be the gas station attendant. Maybe it might be the lady in KFC. Maybe it might be the lady in Pizza Hut. No, I'll probably give an answer to people here. But really and truly, we all have an audience. And there's something, Andrew, that we can say that can make a difference. You don't have to be formally a coach or a mentor, but we're mentoring somebody. We are mentee to somebody. And we can actually use every opportunity, and we're all learning, every opportunity to try and make life a little better for somebody. So my how is that when I get the opportunity, like I take those calls very, 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 very seriously, because I know this person, if they keep that particular mindset, then, you don't solve a problem by a problem that can't be solved. Let me say again, you don't solve a problem by a problem that can't be solved. So there is a problem, your self-esteem is low, you're not feeling good about yourself. There are people, whether it's the Andrews and the Darrens of this world, who are there to say, hey, I want to help you. I've seen Andrew do that with youngsters and encourage them, and it makes a world of a difference for them. That's something I admire.
Wow. I still on what you said a little bit earlier about, you say, I believe in you, right? And your expression of being with a person and listening. So you were asking, like, how do you find that, or how do you become a coach? You know what I think it is? Love people. Wow. Love people.
I love that.
Yeah, and start with yourself, actually.
And unconditionally,
Wow.
If I could just add to that, love them
Unconditionally.
Unconditionally. And that's something all of us are learning. You love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
I mean, we know sometimes we want people to be like us, and that's not really the best thing. I mean, this we learn, doesn't matter your age, but you learn this along the way. And we have to love them. The two things, we're here to compete. And yes, we have an athlete here. So we're here to compete, or we're here to complete the journey. And the letter that is incomplete, that is not incomplete, is the L. And we only complete when we operate in love. So we need to really and truly operate in love, and it has to be an unconditional love for each other. I love that, Darren.
And Darren, the last thing you said was to love yourself.
Yeah.
Take us a little bit more on that.
It's so often overlooked, right? And this is, I think, one of the reasons why I'll call them light workers, coaches, counselors, helpers of any profession. I use that term, light workers, because they bring in light, and love into the world. But it's one of the reasons why there's a lot of burnout in that field, a lot of giving, a lot of service, right? From a true place of purpose and passion, yes. But without the balancing self-love. And I'm not just talking about self-care, which is getting your rest and eating right and so forth, but literally having the same compassion for yourself to start with as a basis for then sharing yourself fully with another human being in a loving way.
Wow. I'm smiling as you're talking there because it reminds me, when I started to tour schools again, there were 3 premises, if I were to call them that I operated on, that works anywhere, it doesn't matter, across the board. The first one is valuing oneself. And valuing oneself, valuing one's peers, and then discovering and living a purpose. If you don't value yourself, chances are you would not truly value other people. And only when you truly value other people, then together you could discover, hey, we have some similarities. He might be a different skin color than me, but guess what? There's no color of the heart. We bleed the same way, but if we have a genuine love for people, there might be a cause that we can get together and champion that cause. And that to me is where the real true champion. I mean, Bravo did his little champion thing too, right? But each of us, we have that champion inside of us. Yeah. And I mean, it's not about us. Too many people at times are very selfish. And I realize that, it's all about us. It's about our happiness. It's about how I feel and how much money I could have. Hello, let's try to think about other people as well and try to make the world a better place for them so that they too could experience positive moments.
Yeah.
Wow. And I want to touch a little bit more on this topic because, taking care of yourself, but from such a genuine place, I believe it's so important. A true healer is someone who's went through something, healed themselves, and can then show someone the journey. A true leader is someone who's led and then could come back and then lead. And a true champion is someone who is not championing one thing but everything. And those 3 things put together, very, very important to manage in our lives. And as we really understand ourselves as human beings, and I say it all the time, there's no one like you, there's no one like me. There's no 2 Darrens, there's no 2 Andrews, there's no 2 Dons. And there will never be a replica of either of us or of you, even an identical twin. So when we look at it like that individuality of yourself, you have the opportunity to be the best version of you, and no one else ever could replicate that. But that doesn't mean you be selfish or all about you. It's all about using us to help you become the best version of you. And that's what really Positive Moments is about. And I know Republic Bank really believes in this show because it's one of like no other. And as we get ready to wrap up here, Darren, I think we've had an amazing experience. I'm talking about how coaches can help people's lives and how we can drive home value of oneself and value of what someone else can help you become. I didn't reach here by myself. I have mom, dad who put me on this planet, and the list goes on of team. I'm a massive fan of building a team. But if there's one thing I could really ask you to send home, and I just want them to feel it even more, is the importance of letting go so that you could create more of yourself. Not necessarily become someone different, but forgiving, the ability to learn to forgive and to, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what, I mean, in the end of the day, I say that, I'm so glad that that wall fell on me. This is a hard thing to do. I had to go through a lot to say I'm so glad this happened because it taught me, so many life lessons. And I blame no one else. So many things could have been differently. That taxi could have come 1 minute later, 1 minute earlier, and things could have been different. Or my training partner could have went up on the wall. It could have been him. Or that wall could have been the contractors who built the wall. It could have been 1 minute more of drying, all kind of things. But there's no blame. There's just forgiving. That allows me as a human being to say, it's okay. I'm still alive. Even if I was not alive, and thank the Lord I am alive, it's still about forgiving for what has happened. And we all, every single one of us, and I said there's no one else like you. So you can't compare our sadness and our happiness. We could be inspired by someone's success, and we could be encouraged by someone's positivity. But really send a message home to the guests to let them, encourage them to let go, to forgive, so that they themselves could create much more. Because letting go and it's like when you go to someone's house and it's just full of stuff. Everywhere you go, it's full of boxes. You just have no room inside the house. It's just clutter. You can't really do anything more inside there. And same thing inside of us. How do you encourage people to let go and forgive, to create more?
More than you just did, I'm not sure. But, but you know, your personal experience really speaks, you know, through the passion that you shared, that the greatest spiritual teachers that we know, from Jesus down, you know, have always said, forgiveness is the pathway to peace. You know, forgive us our trespasses, asking for, you know, our Creator's forgiveness for what we have done, but also forgive others for what they've done to us. For me, I think there's a very powerful spiritual cleansing that happens with forgiveness. And forgiving is letting go, right? So forgiveness is letting go of those resentments and those blames and those hurts and those, even those judgments. We've been talking about judgments. So we spoke earlier about those things that are in our way that are blocking the expression of who we are and the expression of love in the world. Judgment is one of those powerful ways, right? Self-judgment, who we are judging ourselves to be, and then judging others, and blocking the connection and the expression of true love between human beings, which is the most powerful force in the world.
You know, I could probably put that in a sentence. You know, in order to truly live, we must give because life is forgiving. Let me say it again. In order to truly live, we must give because life is forgiving. And you could look at that any which way, because it's important. When you forgive, you know, you become free. Yes. You know what I mean? And you know, sometimes we have a lot of things bottled up. And we probably, you know, we may have those things bottled up for years. And it doesn't help us to become all that we can be. You know what I mean? So I'm certainly encouraged by the conversation. And this is a continuing conversation. Maybe I think this is a program that somebody needs to look again at. You know, need to look at, and maybe there's some little clues inside of it that would help us all to become better versions of ourselves. And we're still learning, we're still growing, we still have life, you can still breathe, you know, take this breath of fresh air. So the one thing I want to close off with is with the and Andrew, I'm not sure we're going to close off now. I want to save a word to close.
I'll close off and I'll let you close.
Yeah, sure, because I want to save that word. It's something I really want to say.
Sounds good. So as we wrap up another amazing session, before we go into Darren's positive place in his life, I want to thank you all for joining us here in Positive Moments with Andrew and Donna. Massive thanks to Republic Bank for allowing us to have this platform to reach not only persons in the region, but across the world. Positive Moments is not for us, it's for everyone. So we encourage you to stay as positive as you can. Remember, forgive, let go, and love, so that you could be the best version of yourself. Darren, thank you so much for joining us here today. We really was a heartfelt, strong session. Thank you for all the work you do as a coach across the board. And not only I look forward to continuing to work with you, but continue to see the developments of, I just love seeing people helping others and hearing these stories, because it's just so encouraging to just create more, you know?
I want to thank you both for inviting me on the show, and more generally for doing this and for conceptualizing and making this a reality for so many people. For everyone who's out there, I just wish you positivity and more love, more peace. And I thank also, of course, Republic Bank for making this possible for us to be here today. So thanks. And
responsible and possible. It came both by nature.
Wow. But Darren, thank you again. I just want to echo, you know, what Andrew said. It was really a joy to have you on. and continue your work not only with Andrew but with others as well too, because the world needs, each one reach one, teach one, reach many. We go to many. And as we close off here, folks, on Positive Moments, this is our 6th episode. We encourage you to visit our YouTube channel, Positive Moments with Andrew and Don. Check out the YouTube channel. We have lots of webinars from season 1 that will benefit you. Lots of webinars to come in season 2 and have been going on as well. If you heard us correctly, we're all talking with a particular passion. And you have a particular passion inside of you. And that word passion is really what I pass on. Don't let the I remain hidden and get passed on. So we're going to pass you on to we're going to see a little billboard to the end of the show. Positive Moments finished, but guess what? The Positive Moments is not really finished. What you have in your heart now, you can actually pass on to somebody else. We encourage you to pass it on. Don't stop. Go for the top. Okay? We're going to go on and on, especially when we're talking about the mindset of a positive champion. See you next time.
Gentlemen, welcome to my positive place. We're up in the hills of Hololo Mountain Road in the northern range of Trinidad. This is a little secret spring. Not many people know about this place, and I only discovered it almost by accident. I was jogging on the trail that we were on, and I just got like this feeling of to just be still and just to listen. And I stopped and I listened, and I felt this very cooling sensation come over me, and I said, there must be water somewhere nearby. And I came down this little trail here into the bush and came across this very humble but very beautiful to me little spring. I call it the Spring of Hope and my fountain of youth. because quite often I've incorporated it into my exercise. So I would walk along the hill, I'll walk the hill along the trail, maybe do some running, and then come down into this area and cool off, rinse my skin, cool my head. Sometimes I will go in to the pond and take a swim.
Don will join you.
Don, you want to take a dip?
Wow, that dip refer to food, eh?
Or to leave.
Different. Wow.
It's so refreshing and renewing for me. And it's a place where I will often come, do a lot of thinking on the way up, ruminating, maybe contemplating something that's either a challenge or a goal that I have. And then I will come in here and basically let everything go and just be with nature, just communing with the hummingbirds and the frogs, just listening to what's happening outside, but also listening to what's happening inside. And then I will receive the blessing of the water and the renewal of the water on my skin, and I will feel recharged and back down the hill.
Don, I'm hearing something that is ringing a bell that, important to have time by yourself. You come here to create more hope, because I believe we could always use more hope. We always have hope, but we could always use more hope. And more importantly, a spring of youth, fountain of youth. And important to stay mobile, stay fit, stay healthy. And this is, in my opinion, while it's super remote, it's very, very healthy. I'm sure the oxygen levels in here are much higher than in the city. So we're breathing some really quality air here right now. And with some quality people too, So that together is very positive, I would say.
Yeah, very positive. And I mean, as we look around here, what stands out to me is the rock. And it depends on who you have as a rock. Who is your rock in your life? I mean, Christ is my rock. So I could stand on that, But there's some people who they need something to hold on to, who need something to be strong and to really find themselves, as it were. And then it took a little journey as well too, took a little journey. Sometimes just a journey in your mind to say, hey, I was here, but I could be in a new place. I could be in a new place, and that new place might actually I discover a new mindset. Because ideally we're talking about having a champion mindset. And I mean, as you see, it's not even so remote because phones ring as well too.
Reception.
So you're still getting some kind of reception. And I mean, there's always something to receive somewhere somewhere around, some message along the way. I mean, we tend to use our phones a lot. That's the time that we're in. But certainly there are other, other messages and so that we could get, and maybe even to help us to become all that we could be.
I'm really happy you said that, because quite a few times I've been here and I've felt a message come in, and the message wasn't so much for me. So I'd whip out my phone and video and or audio record what's coming through, and share it on social media, as a message that is just present. And I typically realize that if I ignore it, it doesn't really go away. So that's when I know it's something that wants to come through and be expressed. For some reason, this place, I think it's connecting with nature and just connecting with that stillness that you spoke about. We spoke about earlier, like dropping and letting go of things and allowing things to come through. So for me, sometimes it comes as a message. Sometimes it's just to say, you just be still and just be with, I call it one, be at one, be at peace, with all of nature.
So when we look at, this is your place, we've gone to other places with our other guests. What is the value in having a positive place in one's life?
I think it's a little bit of like what you spoke about. There's a solidity, there's a consistency of a place, and I mean, I believe in the energetic and spiritual value of a place. So I feel that it's very good to connect with a place that makes you feel good inside. There's a real replenishment and refreshment, and yeah, you said hope, I mean, there's a hopefulness of reconnecting with a special place. It makes you feel like yourself. It reminds you of what's important, that you feel happy, you feel peaceful, and you get to, just really kind of reconnect with what's real and true for you.
Yeah. But there's a correlation between feel and know and feel and fact. Because sometimes you might feel, but then what you feel may not necessarily be a fact. True. And for wherever somebody, they don't have to necessarily come on a hike to find themselves. Because one thing when I hear people saying all the time, I'm going to find myself. And I say, hey, the one person you with all the time is you. So you have to discover yourself, not necessarily find yourself, because you're there. You found yourself a long time ago, and that discovery, that self-discovery is actually very, very healthy, and that's where somebody even can become aware of their immense potential. And part of positive moments, I think when you're more relaxed, you're able to take a hold and a grasp of things a lot better. You're able to analyze situations a lot better. Otherwise you wouldn't have, none of us have all the answers. God has all the answers. But certainly you put yourself in a place when you're relaxed, when you're more positive, to hear better, to know better, to see better, to feel better, to think a little better. And that's what this, I hope, is all about, helping somebody to think that they can go on and be whatever they want to be, find out exactly their true purpose. I'm very, very big. I mean, you hear me talk about program to program, you hear me talk about purpose. And it's very, very, for example, this place is very relaxing. And what I learn about purpose, the last 4 letters, is pose. So most times when you pose, if I say pose now, you'll tend to relax. So that purpose is supposed to bring you to a place of relaxation, a place of knowing that I'm on this earth created for this purpose, and I'm enjoying life in spite of what life has to offer at times. It's not how many times I fall, but how many times I get up. Always at the times that you get up be more than the times that you fall, and fall has all in it. And I said it and I didn't stall, so,
You're flowing like the spring.
Yeah. But lots of good things are springing from here, man. Lots of good things are springing, especially with positive moments. We get to discover beautiful Trinidad and Tobago too. Yeah. Because that's something that we take for granted. I mean, foreigners come here and they go like, wow. And we just don't really appreciate what we have.
Absolutely.
So a lot of it is appreciating what we have, appreciating the people that we have, realizing that there are things that may look differently, but we're not so different after all. When we take the time to really respect and to love each other, and those are two qualities. I was so happy in the studio when you talk about love, but then there's love and respect as well too. When you really love somebody, you will respect them, So I'm learning a lot, even on this journey. I'm learning a lot and discovering. I could actually reach so far in the bush. Thank God
you did good.
They were not filming when I was walking and all the, you know what I mean. But
Andrew had to coax you a little bit.
yeah. Well, the convincing. But I mean, I'm learning, man. I'm learning. As you see, life is still busy. People are still trying to get on you to come back to the concrete.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm glad you said that. When you were speaking, I realized that there is something also about this place that really is quite positive for me. Is I often feel very humbled. I feel so less self-important when I'm surrounded by this, the awe of this beauty, you know. And you were talking about beautiful places and stuff, and what's the benefit of having it. I think that if we can connect with the awesomeness of creation a little bit more and kind of take ourselves off the head, the pedestal, you know, we always in control, and you know, making nature our servant instead of being a steward of nature and a part of what we are, you know, created to enjoy, you know, as part of what is this awesomeness.
Wow. You know, there's a quality there, and in terms of that humility, you know, that's very difficult for some people, but humility is very, very important if you have to go to a higher level. You know, if you have to achieve anything, the humility is very, very important. So even those who are looking on, it's very important that whatever you achieve, whether it's an Olympic athlete status or whether it's a champion coach, you know, status or whatever it is, you want to be humble. You want to make sure that you know you're not walking around there thinking that you're better than other people. But what you should do is helping other people become better, and you do that by you becoming better.
I love that. I love that. And this really is a beautiful environment, Darren. Really, really real. You know, I think that's important. And as we look at and understand what is real in life, it's first of all what is present. And this is extremely present. This also is a present. This also is a gift to be inside here today. And I really want to, you know, thank you for being open to bringing us here, because to some people they would never take anybody to their spot. And that's okay, that's fine.
I thought twice, huh?
That's okay, that's okay.
One and two.
So I'm very grateful to have come into your positive place. I could feel the love and positivity inside here. I could feel not only the thought of creating inside of here, because there's so much creation around us. Like this is, you know, way before our time. You know, these rocks, these trees, this is, you know, a different level of creation here that we can't even consume to think how this arrived here before us. There's just so much things we could gain from just looking at these rocks and the build-up of the water and everything. So thank you very much for bringing us in here today and creating this positivity, setting this stage. And I hope you can continue to use this place to inspire others to be positive and to grow and let nature take its course through us as human beings.
I'm so grateful that you guys created the opportunity that I could share it with you. You know, it's a real gift what you all are doing and what you all are creating and helping people to connect with positivity at all levels. And so I'm really, really very grateful to be part of it. And, you know, thanks to you and your crew for actually, you know, being brave and courageous enough to come into the bush and share it with me. And you know, just to add, I think that there's such a beautiful release of energy when it comes to following adventure in your life. And sometimes, you know, these trails for me, it represents a little bit of just taking that little risk of discovering something new, you know, and the reward that comes along with that. So thanks for taking the risk and coming down. Yeah.
Wow.
Most welcome.
Wow. You know, well, as we get set to close episode number 6 on Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, we just want to look at the rock again, the rock that I'm seeing, and then you're seeing a flow, and there's a natural beauty and flow when we allow things to happen naturally. This is Positive Moments again. Check us out on the YouTube channel, Positive Moments with Andrew and Don, and be sure you're going to be positively inspired, just as we are being here. See you again.